point, you know, for like what is the most updated state layer that has those three things, you know, designated, so you guys can start and just kind of edit from there, you know, so you don't have to set that up. And then I think this would be interesting though, because it's kind of what you were talking about with the points. So if you ever need to do this again for anything else, you know. So we just have, you know, address in a few fields here, also address concatenated. So just that and that and that and that. And we'll put it together into one line. I'll show you why. That's important in a second. Then you have latitude and longitude fields, so in separate fields. Then I go to this site that I love. It's called GeoCodigo, I think. Alright, yeah, so you can see I've done this before. And you just upload list. And you can, if I can just drag this on here. If you have multiple spreadsheets, it might be hard. Oh, so it sees that I have latitude and longitude, but we're not going to use that because this is an example. It will take addresses and generate latitude and longitude. I think I put it all in one field because I think you can do it. Ooh, I don't know which address field it is. That's a fail on my part. Let's just do all of them. Preview didn't really work. Supposed to get a couple dots on there. Let's just try one address field. Well, let's just see what it does. Then you can append a bunch of data if you want, like the time zone and census data and things, which is cool. And so you'll know what that means in a second. So I guess I can just take this one that I did before because it's already done. Then you download it, and then you get a CSV back with the latitude and longitude. And this is basically the table you get. And you could take this table, which we will do, and use that in ArcMap because it's already a CSV. They know that's what you need. They know you can't use any formatting, which are all requirements. So I'm going to just throw that on my desktop. And this will be the same, except the difference, if you were on this remote server, you would just save this file to the remote server, some location. And then when you do this next step, you would just go find it. All right, so this is what ArcMap looks like. It's a whole bunch of buttons. We don't need to use most of them. Buttons. Right?
A little bit.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of like that. Like when I open Photoshop, I get a little overwhelmed. Yeah. I'm like I literally have no idea where to click. Yeah. So the simple steps are you're always going to have this little menu here. So you want to go to Catalog, which is another little window. It'll pop up. You're not going to have a folder connection, so you're going to have to make one on the new machine, but I'll probably set that up for you first. So basically, I can go to my desktop where I saved that file, and it was this Tilson Office list. And then right-click, create feature class from XY table, right? So you'd never be able to find that unless somebody showed you, basically, is how most of this stuff works. I say I've made a career off of knowing where to right-click. And so I'm just going to save that on the desktop in some new folder here. And you can see it's going to save this as a shapefile. No, but you have this other option, which I don't think for this we need to use it, geodatabase. So just focus on shapefiles. And we'll just make that. Yeah, I don't expect you to have to do this too much, so next time you do it, we can do it together.
I was going to ask you if we could, like,
yeah. And this is just recorded, so like,
yeah.
Mainly recording GIS stuff is helpful because there's so many random clicks in there that you forget, you know, so it's like, let's see. Okay, then you have dots, right? We can do something like this. So obviously there's no states behind that yet, but we can just throw on a quick map because we don't really need anything besides, well, I guess we do, but we're gonna, all right, we'll pull in the states and do that next. So one thing I noticed, you had a good projection on your map, actually, but the thing that you want is, you always know when a map is like flat like this, like where the line above Washington, Montana is straight,
Mhm.
you know that it's not projected like in a good way.
What do you mean by projected? Like.
So the projection is like how you get it from a round globe down to a flat map.
Okay.
And not distorting it so much.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I mean, it's impossible to, not impossible, but.
We try to minimize distortion as much as possible,
Yeah.
right? And on this map, it's actually like the distances on there are like
It's too wide.
not accurate, right?
Mhm.
They're just and the reason they do this is because the a web map can't do projections basically.
Mhm.
So this is like the standard starting point, super simple, but a good one to use, right? And a good way to change that. And so the way I always check is just if this line is straight, you probably should think about changing your projection.
Okay.
And so just so you can see the steps involved in that, good. I just went to double click on this layers button here, and then so I already have it in my favorites, but you would find it by going to projected, and there's a million of them, right? Because every spot on the Earth has a different one, because there's a best way to represent every spot that they kind of develop locally. So continental, North America, and that USA, Albers equal area conic. So really, if you're making a US map, this is all I ever use. So you really don't have to know one for something like this. And you'll see how it changes it. So that's a projected view of the US, which kind of makes it look like you're looking at a globe, right? Because like when you're actually, you're like on a globe, it's actually correct all the time.
Yeah.
That's
cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
So we'll save one of these ArcMap documents on that machine. I'll just kind of set it up like this, and maybe we'll set up together once we get to that point. And so when you open it again, you want to set that again, but just so you know. But I did notice on your map you had a. Did you get this state data like from online, or did you convert the stuff that was in there already?
No, for the map, I actually just Googled and just got a map outline. And then
I figured.
And then I just formatted it
Hacked
differently.
Hacked it together.
Yeah.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because they have those PowerPoint object maps just out there.
Yeah.
And they're a lot of times already projected like that. So that's how it's interesting. I mean, you usually won't get a bad one, but if you exported that and you saw it on PowerPoint side, you'd be like, it doesn't look right, and I don't know why it doesn't look right. But that's the only real mappy
That's
thing
so
that.
interesting, I just downloaded it and it looked right to me, so I was like, I'm just gonna use it. But there's so much thought behind all the different kinds of maps, I feel like.
Yeah. When you get farther out, like a world map or the U.S., that's when projection becomes important. But when you're super close in, there's not going to be that much difference, So if you're ever making a local map, it's not as big of a deal. And for this, we probably would be making U.S. maps most of the time. So just a little bit of mappy fun there. So then I just have a GIS data folder, and I have US data in the census that is going to give me the states. So I'm just going to pull those in. So there's our state layer, and this is obviously GIS layer. I honestly don't even have an updated. This is actually a good first job to do. Is maybe going and the way we do it is. I'll just start the file now. So I'm going to export this to our folder. Okay, states with Tilson data. so now it's just not gonna mess with that source data there. And this is kind of what I was envisioning. We have a couple of layers in here, and then when you go into the table, so you can see behind the map data, there's all sorts of other data.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna reduce that for you because it's a little bit much. So I can just turn things on and off here. Just keep subregion, state, population, sure.
Can you take out Canada and Mexico?
Oh yeah, so that's just the background.
Mm-hmm.
So we could add them, but yeah, for just like when we go to PowerPoint, it's a good point though because we're gonna export this EMF, and part of the requirements are you can't use transparency in ArcMap, and you can't have any of that background stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you do the export, like if I exported this, I mean we're basically at that point. So let me just show you how this works.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna do, you can't see it, but file export. So you can imagine like we go through, we add in that data, and we color the map by yes, no, GC license, and then some of them are red, some of them are green, and then we do this to get the thing we put into PowerPoint. Oh. Okay, and then this is, yeah, I just picked that EMF there, and it's obviously a lot of other things, but this is the one you can blow up in PowerPoint.
What is EMF stand for?
Electronic, like Microsoft format or something. Like it's a super old, like Microsoft type of like design file or something. Like I remember somebody told me about it one time, and you don't really need to set any settings. This is fine. It like I don't know, it's something to do with transporting vector graphics as opposed to a raster image, which is why you can break it out. I know I'm going fast, but yeah. So test map, literally, I just gonna drop that in my PowerPoint.
Okay.
And then I use the shortcuts, just Control Shift G will ungroup it, but I'll show you on here. I think if you just do data, maybe? No. Home, ungroup, I'm looking for. Oh, format. Yes, group, and then ungroup. And then you just got to do this a couple times. You say yes, and then it doesn't do it, and you got to go back to format, and you got to do ungroup again, and then it all pops out as objects.
Okay. Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, right, like we used to have this tool at my own company that was like select similar objects. So I could click on one point and select all the points, and then I'd move them onto a different slide and add shadows and do whatever I want and group them. But for this, no, I don't really have that. So with tills and data, though, we don't have too many things. So what I would typically do is go pull all these points off and put them on another slide, so I could just manipulate all those at the same time. And that state file we use is pretty generalized, you know, so like it's good, not too many points in the,
Yeah,
in
we
the
got one other
vectors.
Colorado offices.
I'm on it. Appreciate you looking out.
Keeping you.
So then my favorite thing for maps is shadows. I get unreasonably excited about them. So so that's a good way to do it. And then for these, you know, obviously it's right. But then if you group it and then do a shadow, it'll just do the outline of all of them. So that's always looks good for like US. And then if you do it the other way, it still looks pretty darn neat. I'd say kind of get a couple options. And then since this is just, if I select them all and group them, then I can just paste. And then since they're grouped, it's easier. If you ungroup, you can like change the colors of all of them at the same time, and then keep them all selected so you don't lose the grouping, and then group it again. So like it's kind of like working with a GIS layer. It's just in PowerPoint. Like if you ungroup and you grab a handle on one of those, but you hold Shift at the same time, they'll all change the size.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Right?
Thank God.
Yeah, I know, right?
Especially with circles.
Yeah. And for example, if we had labeled these, which
Oh, I was gonna ask you about the yeah. Oh, okay.
then there's
You just
more
turn it on.
settings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like here in labels. But the cool thing is, right, like if we do it like this, and then this time I don't want to export the states and say I forgot one thing, I can just do that. You want to make sure that the same extent you export at, but just because it's helpful, because then when I pull it into the PowerPoint, it'll fall in the exact same spot. But not necessary, because you can also just line it up basically once you're in the map. So you see it fell in the exact spot I wanted it to because I have the same size. But if it hadn't, you could just manipulate the size of that square. But then what I usually do is, I'll put it on one slide to make sure it fell in the right place, go to another slide, paste that in, actually. Delete that and then paste it in. And then ungroup. And then you have your labels.
Can you manipulate the font?
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, totally. Again, I could just make these dots have no point in ArcMap and then export just the labels, but it's easier if you have the labels, the points too, to make sure it's in the right spot on the map. So again, I would cut them and then, I hate that I can't just make a new slide. I don't know what the shortcut is for that.
I know, I do the same thing.
Right? Always making new documents. And then you can, do whatever you want. Is it?
I actually use Franklin Gothic Demi condensed.
Nice.
Ah.
I didn't know
I
that
have
one.
a thing for condensed like sans serifs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's where I tend to.
Oh,
move it
nice. I
around.
I just can't use bold.
And then, for the Demi, I just unbold the Demi. These have already been ones.
Oh, if you just unbold. Look at that.
Nice.
I wish that you could, and I don't know if there's a way to do this, and I don't know if you know. I have so many different fonts from like Photoshop and InDesign, but when I think you can import them to PowerPoint, but like if someone else on the other end doesn't have that font, it defaults it, and then it just like.
Yeah, it turns into like hieroglyphics. Yeah.
And I just wish there was a way to like have those cool looking fonts and have them be able to.
So,
open somewhere else.
I know a lot about fonts. Do you have a favorite font?
I like, and I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
It's actually our headline font. It's Fahala, FJ.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a folder on your computer in the C drive. I believe it's in Windows, and then there's fonts. Fonts. This is where all your fonts are stored, and they get installed when you install Windows and when you install like Word. There's some more, but if somebody on the receiving end doesn't have one, you just can't you can embed them into like PDFs, I think, but you can't in PowerPoint. I don't know, but the thing is, if you really want them to have it, you could send them this. It's a TTF file.
Yeah.
And throw it in there.
We do that with like InDesign packages too.
Okay.
Like if there's, you send it to the printer. If they don't have the font, you send the TTF or whatever.
Yeah, TTF, totally.
I was wondering if there's a way to get around that, but.
So like one of the things is like Esri installs all these like symbol fonts on here. So like if I export a map of those, sometimes it's a problem. One way around that is to embed, just create, so let's say this was a font that I couldn't use. Now, of course, this is going to make it uneditable on the other side, but if I, like, I'll just copy it, and then if you paste special, you
Or you
can,
can just paste it as a picture.
yeah, like a transparent PNG or another Microsoft graphic object. Actually, no, that's not what it is. I'd have to do just not a Microsoft graphic object, just one of these, like, shoot PNG. And then it comes back and it looks okay, you know, so if I was going to put that on that map, looks good, and it's actually PNG. So, like, it
And
would
then it
go
would
through,
change.
but somebody on the other end wouldn't be able to edit it.
Right.
That's the thing. But it would
But
go
it would hold
through.
the font.
Yeah. And they could edit everything else on the slides, you know, and one of them made it's like PDF everything, you know, before you send it out, which is annoying if you can't do that with Josh, obviously. But if it's like a presentation that's going to be done internally first and then goes out, it's like, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
This is awesome. I like love this.
It's possibly my favorite topic, and I never get to talk about it at TOSIS. I get so, like, we're always data, like, for
Yeah.
stuff that we do. Oh, so one thing we didn't do is now let's make our placeholders for the data that we want to create for the CLAC and stuff. So I'm just going to make some fields here, so probably won't have to do this again. Of course, if there's another thing that we want to keep track of by state, then we'll have to make one each time. So CLAC.
How many employees per state?
Totally.
Well,
That would be awesome.
That would be.
As our offices grow.
Yeah, I've been. Oh man, if you can get the N on the HR, like just the address or even a zip code for every employee, that would be really neat.
Well, I have to
You could do
eventually
some cool stuff.
like extract that info because I'm going to make a new signature
Oh,
block,
really?
and so it has to be like office specific.
That's
and so,
right.
And I think, and Josh mentioned the best way to go about it is to send it to those people in that office. So it'd be good to know like how many are there.
I love it.
A new signature block for each.
Not a different one for each office, but like you know they have different addresses
Yeah.
and stuff, but the look would be the same.
Yeah.
Everyone's is all over the place.
That is so cool. I'm jealous.
Well, maybe we can like work together on it. 'Cause
Let me know.
Yeah.
What was the other map that I got GC and I got P. Yes, nice. Thank you. PE. So you see, I mean, I'm just adding a text field by doing this little option here. And then, okay, so I think we should, I think I have somewhat of the latest version of those things. Let me save this. Oh, so I'm gonna make a to-do list for myself as well. So yeah, everyone logins to Fiverr. So we call it, this is called a Fiverr Planet server, the remote desktop we use, but it's just because it started when we had this old software on it, which we don't even use anymore. But anyway, that's what that is. And then I'll set up the data and MXD on there. Save this guy. If you want to get some of those background maps on there, like the one I had on there that we turned off to get the states, you can just export that as a PNG and then export it at the same zoom level and just put it right behind it.
Okay.
So it's like, it's pretty neat. And they have a bunch of options for those maps too.
Nice.
Oh, and I'll write up the steps too. I might have an old document that I already did. Points from address and then states like to PowerPoint. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, so I was looking for the latest Excel files that I use, I think. So this one, yeah, I guess if you guys just want to take over these folders, be my guest. I don't know if you have a file storage plan, but
That works.
if you move them, just let me know and
Yeah.
we'll coordinate. So Tilson internal maps. I'm probably just gonna keep making them in here. So every time Josh asks me to make like a random map, I put it in here,
Okay.
and so you'll see folders pop up in here. But
Yeah, that works.
GC licensing. Let's look at that one. So usually I've been trying to just store the PowerPoint and the latest Excel in here. Oh, I think I told you. So this is the only table I use in here, and this has like an old master list. You know, an old list I got from Ben. But I think it's safe to say that that is all we need to update if we're going to use the table, which is totally up to you. I would say ask if we have to. And then, so I actually updated that yesterday. That's good. I guess that's helpful. Oh, I can put what my... So I'll just kind of leave this structure for the PowerPoint and the Excel, and then the GIS file will be in a different location, which will have all three. And the reason I pulled this open now, I'm remembering now, is to say that this is the data we need to translate in GIS. And we can do it automatically. It's just with states, a lot of times it's just pretty darn easy just to go in and type it in, right? So if you're looking here, the green means we have it. I mean, I think. Yeah, so I think these are the designations. So I would literally just, you know.
Wasn't like the blue, like they don't need it.
Yeah.
They don't have
Oh, is that it?
to.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, no license necessary. Yeah, totally. Oh, I closed dark map for some reason. And then I'll just show you how to edit that stuff. So that's one of the things we'll pull in. Wait for that other one to open. And then we have PE. I haven't looked at this in a while. State stamps. Oh, right. Oh, I like this one. Oh, I think Ben Cleveland updates this actively, and this might. I think he's updating this version actually. So this is a good,
Oh, that's
Good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Could be another
right?
person map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really been updating this. I forgot that we had even hired a couple extra people that had these. So awesome, right? So he's already, this is the latest version, and this is what we need to translate in the GIS. So this is actually going to be harder to translate, of course, because now we need a field per person. So like, and it's going to be harder to symbolize, which he's already having that challenge, right? Like you know, this one has like 2 people, this one has 5 people, you know, and I remember in the first version it was interesting.
There were like states like off to the side,
Oh,
but I felt like they didn't have a meaning.
oh, and my legend? You know, like
No.
my little mini
I was like, what does
state?
this mean? I was like, does this? And it was more, it was like for the color and more so than the like being.
It was only pulling a representative state and being like, if another state looks like that, that's my legend.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
I like it tripped me up initially. I was like, 7
Nice.
Texas is the what? Okay.
That is
And Ben
good
was
feedback.
like, no, it was like it means this. This is what that means.
My super creative legend just leading people down the wrong path.
But like, what would like? There isn't really. Yeah.
I just want to move Texas into the Atlantic Ocean. So right. So I guess we really should just make a new field for everybody. But you know, the decision is like, do you make one field that when it's one person it just gets their name, and then when it's more than one person it says 2 people,
Yeah.
and then 3 people it just says 3 people? Because the thing about ArcMap is is that it's gonna be way easier to symbolize quickly if it's one field that we figure out data, or if it's just like like if we stop worrying about who is there, then we could just put one person, two people, three people, and it would just be like a number of people that are
Instead of names.
yeah. Be easier, especially if we have this table. We shouldn't need the names on the map, in my opinion, because it's just sitting there. So yeah, I guess if you ask me, that's what I would do.
Right, because the table would be underneath it, so you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see, we got two people there, and you say, well, who are those people? And then you got to look at the list. I mean, I guess it's not really up to us technically, but.
Yeah.
So the way that I guess I could help with all this Excel work too. Because what I want to do is just get a count of times that these things are mentioned. Actually, that's not too hard. And we can do this. Actually, no, I might be able to do it really quickly. Let me just finish. Okay. So the thing that I do all the time is paste special. I just paste the values of that stuff. Paste them down here. So I don't mess with Ben's table. Actually, why don't I put it somewhere else? Okay, so then I wanted to just line these up into one column so I could then pivot it. Oh man, doesn't want me to paste special. What the heck? Sorry, I think this will make sense in a second. Whoa. And really, these are the two of the three, that we can figure out now. I guess it's better, but I'm just thinking of better uses of our time with 15 minutes left. Like, are there any? I mean, it sounds like we kind of have a plan.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool, and it's gonna be fun.
I definitely feel like when I go about this, like we could do it again together.
Definitely, yeah.
But
That's a good
it's a
plan.
good-
So next time we actually get an assignment,
Yeah.
I'll set things up.
Okay.
Next time we get an assignment, we'll just assume, you can test log in the computer, make sure you can open ArcMap,
Okay.
and the stuff that I set up for the next couple of days. And then next time we get a project, we'll just do it together.
Sounds good.
Yeah, awesome. All right, good plan. So, let's see if I can paste this. Dang it.
How often does Josh ask you to update?
About once a month.
Okay.
But then, for a long time, well, obviously, Ben Cleveland's doing his updates. So it'd be good, actually, to get with Ben Cleveland. And then Ben Madden was the GC guy for a while.
Yeah.
But it sounded like he's not anymore.
It's
Right, it's
Kate,
myself
yeah.
and Kate.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I was
Yeah.
like, it's somebody that I might be talking to right now. And then Nick is the other map guy.
Okay.
The CLAC one?
Yes.
Nick Bornacle, yeah. And he updates his own map too.
Using this.
Well,
Or
it's a funny point, right? So like since they update their own stuff, if we wanted to keep it in GIS, we'd have to update it again after they do that, or teach them how to do it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think that all through.
so does he just update his in like PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they both do. That's kind of why I stopped keeping the GIS files, because it was like, if they're making their own updates in PowerPoint, it's like, it's hard
Yeah.
to, I wouldn't even know, I'd need to change log to know what they actually changed, if it's hard to tell from the map. I think it's valuable to Because the thing is, if you have it in PowerPoint already, it's so easy. Like if it's a simple data set, which seems like these things are, to just make that update real quick, and like everything's done. Like if you go into GIS every time, which is what I stopped doing, you have to export the EMF, pull it in PowerPoint, explode the polygons, you know, symbolize them, do a little bit of work to get it symbolized right, and kind of recreate what you had before. So let's say Josh has a requirement that we have this stuff in GIS, and then maybe you guys can do that, you know, like actually get that data that they update and then update that GIS file and just keep that so we have them both if we ever need it, you know, because then it would avoid doing all this kind of like back end like data stuff, and then, you know, just have them know that it's there. And I don't think it'd be too much management because, like I said, it happens like once a month or something that we actually need it. And then, you know, like, because then you never get to a place where somebody's like, well, we got Arizona like 2 months ago, and the problem was that the person that was updating that Excel sheet didn't update the map because they forgot, you know. And if you have in GIS, like, you always know that your, you know, source data is correct, so it's always going to be right, you know, which is tough with map data to actually get everything straight because there's usually so much that you're visualizing, and then the person that knows it can look at it and know in 2 seconds whether or not all the things that they actually have are on there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good enough reason to have all the GIS data like actually exist.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna.
This is super helpful.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna work on this a little bit, and then because there might be an easy way for me to get this data into the GIS to start with, but if not, I think it would make sense to give you practice in GIS to go in and take the lists from the maps and just get them into that shapefile.
Yeah.
You know, and then when we do it, I can show you how to symbolize it based on value in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the, like, to actually log into that, you said it's through a separate.
Oh yeah. So I'll give you all the details on that.
Okay.
Basically, what it looks like is. So I have this little icon here, and you click on it, and oh wow, I've never had to do that. I think because I'm already in there. Actually, let's see. Okay, so yeah, double click on this guy, and well, I guess I have to do it. And it's your login that you got when you first got to Tilson.
Okay.
The one with the dash in it. And then it pops you over to this other computer, where I have a couple of other computers. So this is the one that you would be using. And then, you know, the first time you log in under your new account, you want to go up here and search for ArcMap. And everybody's going to have access to ArcMap, so it'll just show up. It's just, that's the only way I know how to find applications on Windows, whatever this is, 10. And, you know, the only thing I do is just pin this to your start menu, so you never have to do that again.
Okay.
And then there's going to be like a folder on here on the C drive. Actually, on the new one, what is it? Fiber plans? Yeah, on this one. That will be Tilson internal maps. I'll make it right now. So if you go onto the machine and go to the E drive, which will just be listed under this.
Does
PC.
everyone have access to the E drive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We could make it secure if we didn't want that, but I mean, so then within there, I'm gonna put. Basically, I may just do it right now while we're talking about it. But everything we did today. And the best way to move things onto this machine is literally just copy and paste. like there isn't another very good way. I think it does have a link to Ignite, so you can get to those folders that we were putting the what am I trying to say? All the existing PowerPoints and Excel files for the.
Okay. Can you save the recording in here too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, why don't
Are you recording this?
I am.
And
Oh man, very sneaky too. So I don't know why that's not moving. Let's try just pulling some things over. Maybe it's open. Yeah, and if you ever have a PowerPoint like question or you figure out a really cool thing, I would love to hear about
absolutely.
it. And Claire, are you a PowerPoint person? Nice.
I mean, I've made a ton in my life.
All right, there you go.
I haven't had to since started working here, but yeah,
Haven't
I've
gotten
spent the most
to
here.
since working
I
here.
haven't gotten to.
Yes, thank you. It's
Yeah, I've made some nice PowerPoints in the day.
Do you use Photoshop and like InDesign and all that stuff?
I can.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not. I'm like novice level probably. There are just a couple functions I use it for, but
Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to think of what I've
feel
used
like-
more. Yeah. I don't
I'm
know.
most familiar with InDesign and then PowerPoint. Illustrator is something that I need to like freshen up on.
I'm best at Illustrator.
Really?
If anything, yeah. It's just because it works well with the GIS layers. Like you can actually export one of those ArcMap documents as an Illustrator document and just pop it open, and it's like a pretty well set up to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, like all your GIS layers will just be on different layers, and so I've done that before, and made some nice layouts
Yeah,
like
nice.
coming off of there. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll figure out that. So that folder will be where everything is, and I'll figure out how to get up there.
Okay.
Let me just update my list, and tell me if I'm leaving anything off. So move recording folder. Move intro files to folder. I guess that's it. That's what the plan is. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh, and then I'll put I'll take another look at the Excel data and see if I can easily make GIS data. And I'll just let you know.
Okay.
And if not, no big deal. Just pop it in there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Anytime.